It's easy to see what makes Clinton and Obama run. Money rolling in, poll numbers strong. But what about the long shots? What motivates them? Tonight, Jeff Greenfield has the story of a candidate short on cash, but long on hope.
He was born and raised in the small Arkansas town of Hope. He served more than 10 years as Arkansas's governor, and then launched a long-shot campaign for the presidency. Sound familiar? Sure, but we're not talking about him. We're talking about him, 51-year-old Republican Mike Huckabee, who turns his ties to Clinton's hometown into a favorite punchline.
All I ask is, give us one more chance.
But as Mike Huckabee tries to follow Clinton's path from the governor's office to the White House, he faces the same obstacle that confronts just about every dark horse candidate. If you're not visible, how do you raise money? If you don't have money, how do you get visible?
Thank you very much.
He's raised only $1.3 million so far this year, a tiny fraction of what the frontrunners have raised. His headquarters is in a modest suite of offices in Little Rock. He polls between 1% and 5% in national and key state surveys. His audiences tend to the modest. Huckabee's response?
At this point, I've been able to obtain as many votes as any other Republican candidate. There hadn't been any. I can only lose at this point, for sure, if I walk off the track.
History offers lessons to discourage and encourage a dark horse like Huckabee. Candidates like Arizona Governor Bruce Babbitt, Senators Orrin Hatch and Richard Lugar have found that their resumes got them barely a flicker of presidential attention.
Have you ever heard of a candidate? Ever heard of? Well, that's a long way from message. But that's the essential question before somebody is even in the ring and the message makes any difference.
On the other hand, long shots like Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton did get their messages out effectively enough to win. And in 2004, obscure Vermont ex-Governor Howard Dean turned a powerful anti-war message into a campaign that raised more money than any other Democratic candidate. Huckabee hopes, at the least, to gain attention with a message that is not always in sync with the Republican base.
Republicans ought to be leading the way on being better stewards of the environment, and we're not. Republicans ought to be leading the way in speaking out against the kind of corporate greed that has resulted in the loss of millions of jobs in this country.
Huckabee's message and campaign faces its first key hurdle at the Iowa Republican straw poll later this month. A better-than-expected showing, whatever that turns out to be, keeps him in the race. Without it, that hurdle likely becomes the end of his road. Jeff Greenfield, CBS News, Little Rock, Arkansas.
And coming up next, a dramatic recovery from a near vegetative state. What could be a new treatment for brain injuries in a moment.
We all have internal plumbing, but for some of us, it can be a problem. You know, frequent, sudden bladder urges. You worry your pipes might leak, so it's hard to always do things spur of the moment. If you've had enough, talk to your doctor about taking care with Vesicare.